Good evening. Well, last Thursday I was with you in Blackpool. There were 2 resignations before we went on air, 2 resignations whilst we were on air, and a further resignation the next morning. Now, to be fair, 3 of them were probably sackings for Partygate, but the resignation of Munira Mirza raised some really big questions. She'd been by Boris Johnson's side for 14 years. That's one heck of a long time. And his comments about Jimmy Savile, one of the key points that she raised, though she did say it wasn't just that in isolation. But over the weekend, some new appointments have been made, and one in particular that is very, very important. Another of Boris Johnson's oldest friends, Guito Harry, is in number 10 Downing Street as his press spokesman. Now, Guito worked with the Prime Minister back when he was the Mayor of London. Is Boris back on track? That's my question to you this evening. Let me know what you think. Farage at GBNews.uk. I think far from being back on track. In fact, I think the appointment of Guito Harry tells us everything we need to know. Why do I say that? Well, firstly, Guito Harry is a Remainer, an ardent Remainer, passionately opposed to Brexit, and a man that said that Boris Johnson regretted backing the Brexit campaign because he never believed in it. Interestingly, a view that was shared by Claire Foges in the Times today, again, someone that's known Boris for years, saying Boris never really believed in it. Well, a Remainer is taking over the press operations in number 10. But if that wasn't bad enough, this is also the same man who was advising Boris on policy as Mayor of London when Boris said that those who illegally had come to the country and were in London should all be given a mass amnesty. So if you're expecting anything radical to happen in terms of what's going on in the English Channel, please forget it as quickly as you possibly can. Guito Harry also, of course, briefly worked here at GB News. GB News set up to sort of counter the whole woke cancel culture that we believe we see on other stations. And, of course, it was him that took the knee on air that led to a temporary boycott of many of GB News's most loyal viewers. So if you think that in terms of the culture wars, with Guito Harry and number 10, Boris is going to fight them, again, you've got another thing coming. And finally, what was Guito Harry doing in between GB News and going to Downing Street? Well, he was working for a lobbying firm in London, a firm called Hawthorne, and guess what they do? They lobby for Huawei, the Chinese telecoms company that mercifully will not now have a huge part in our 5G network. You see, I like Guito Harry. He's a very nice bloke. I think it was very witty of him to walk up Downing Street this morning carrying mineral water. It's not that I dislike him as a human being. He's not even vaguely a Conservative, and yet that is who Boris Johnson turns to in his hour of need. And folks, here's the problem with Boris Johnson. And here's why I think he really must go. It isn't because of Partygate, bad and arrogant though that looks, and his dissembling in the wake of it has been pretty disgraceful. Now, the real reason is he's turned his back on Conservative voters, on Brexit voters in every way, and if he stays in position, they will lose the next election. Harry's appointment tells me all I need to know. But something else has happened this evening, which also indicates that Boris is not back on track. This was the leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, leaving Portcullis House just a couple of hours ago. Have a look at these pictures. So an ugly mob surrounds Keir Starmer, screams abuse at him, and in particular, the claim that Keir Starmer may well have protected paedophiles at the time when he was Director for Public Prosecutions. This, of course, linking directly back to Boris Johnson's comments in the House of Commons about Jimmy Savile. Now, I have to say, in my own political career, I was used to this sort of mob. I had it every day. But it's not the sort of thing we're used to seeing with the leader of the opposition. It represents an ugly side, a side of politics that seems to get uglier by the month. But the thought that somehow, if you believe Kwasi Kwarteng this morning during the news rounds, that it's all been settled, new teams in place, we're getting on with the job, I suspect, actually, we're heading back into a huge row.